It is this grand edifice which houses the essence of a nation. From witnessing birth of a republic, it has stood witness to great events shaping India's history. The Constituent Assembly of India met in this building and shaped the destiny of Bharat. The making of India's constitution was a carnival of democracy. Emerging from the shackles of foreign rule, our Constituent Assembly scripted a collective vision for the future of our country. The Constituent Assembly took 2 years, 11 months and 17 days to complete its historic task of drafting the Constitution for independent India. Between December 1946 and 1949, the Assembly met for 165 days and spoke about 3.6 million words overall. This would mean around 8,000 pages of written documents. These laid the very foundation of our Constitution.
Paragraph 3 envisages the future Constitution of India.
All that we need, all that we require is honesty of purpose, firmness of determination.
The opening and last sentences of the preamble to our Constitution reads, "We, the people, adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution," signifies the power is ultimately vested in the hands of the people. For the last 70 years, it has given birth and nurtured a faith called democracy. Governments were tested here. Great leaders, men and women, have been shaped inside these chambers. Laws made here are empowering our citizens. The old Parliament building is a mirror reflecting a journey of an ancient diverse civilization. And the new Parliament building is a symbol of a modern, democratic, superpower, self-reliant India. A house of intense debates, a building that saw historic legislations being passed. A building whose walls reverberated with the peals of laughter, absorbed tears of protest. A building that saw the nation being built. Hello and a very warm welcome viewers. You're watching the special presentation of Sansad TV on the journey of the old Parliament building. It started showing signs of distress and overutilization and was not able to meet the current requirements in terms of space, amenities and technology. So while we begin our new journey with our new Parliament building, let's also trace the journey of the old Parliament building. Let me take you back in time. It was the winters of 1911 when the idea of this magnificent building took birth. Soon after the announcement of shifting the capital to British India from Calcutta to New Delhi, the site of Raisina Hills was chosen to carve out a new citadel.
It was a series of reforms which talked about several things, including, diarchy in provinces, including separation of powers, but more importantly, from the point of view of the planning of New Delhi, the idea of a bicameral legislation, more or less similar to the Westminster idea. With the expansion of, the legislative machinery, the idea of involving more people led to, Lutyens going back to his drawing board. And then, because of this new legislative reform and involving people in the people's participation in the government, you had to create a new structure.
The Parliament House was originally meant to be inside this vast Rashtrapati Bhavan estate. But After the adoption of Montagu-Chelmsford reforms in 1919, it was decided to expand the strength of representative body, which meant separate space for a bigger parliament building. The foundation stone of the parliament was laid on 12th of February 1921 by the Duke of Connaught, Prince Aurthur. And after 6 long years of construction, the Parliament House was ready. The opening ceremony was performed on 18th of January 1927 by the then Viceroy of India, Lord Irwin. Constructed at an estimated cost of 83 lakh rupees, the design and layout of the building involved a massive brainstorming. As the 2 architects chosen to design the new capital, Edwin Lutyens and Herbert Baker, had 2 separate designs. It is believed by several scholars that Morana's Chauset Yogini temple inspired the Indian Parliament's design. Finally, the design of a circular shade building was chosen to shape Parliament of India. Since then, it has been a living space to many of India's great leaders and epoch makers. Many of them, till date, reminisce the first day they stepped inside this august building.
It was on the 15th of March 1967 that I resigned from the governorship of Jammu and Kashmir and was inducted by Srimati Indira Gandhi in her cabinet as Minister for Tourism and Civil Aviation. And I think the Parliament in fact was in session at the time, and therefore I must have entered Parliament because she introduced her new ministers, and that was the time I must have entered first. That means March in 1967. Since then I had 40 years in Parliament.
Maybe most of us who have been in the Parliament in early 80s, who have had an opportunity to see and meet and listen great parliamentarians of that time. Of course, that was a passing phase for those leaders, and we were just getting in. So we could watch them, we could listen them, we could see them, we could talk to them.
जुलाई 4, 2019 वो दिन जब पहली बार एक युवा मैं पहली बार संसद में प्रवेश किया, सांसद के रूप में शपथ ग्रहण करी। और उस दिन जब मैं शपथ ले रहा था, एक सोच, एक विश्वास था कि 140 करोड़ लोगों की आवाज बनके कैसे संसद में मैं उनकी सोच को, उनकी परेशानियों को रखूं और मुकम्मल तरीके से कार्य करूं।
You know, the sense of responsibility of this responsibility that I've been given, I feel the magnitude of it, and I'm grateful because my coming here to the Parliament is also a testament of our Honourable Prime Minister's vision to give women space in leadership and in politics. And yes, it feels surreal at times. There's so much to learn, and then there's so much to do, yes.
The Lok Sabha, or the House of People, has acted as a vehicle of social, economic and political change. Let's see the Lok Sabha chamber in the old building.
माननीय सदस्यगण,
माननीय सभासदों, माननीय अध्यक्ष जी.
It is in this semicircular shaped chamber, 543 members directly represent country's billion people. Themed green in color, it also represents the idea that India is an agricultural land, and the people here are elected from the grassroots levels through the dust and heat of India's rigorous elections. The Lok Sabha, or the House of People, has a sitting capacity of 550 members. The seat is divided into 6 blocks, each with 11 rows. What makes this architectural marvel inside the grand building even more ornate is the detailed craft at every end.
when the thing was being designed, in the first round, the ceiling was kept high, The idea was also to accord prestige, but also to give some kind of coolness because of the scorching summers as well. But they eventually realized that, it is causing a lot of problems because the voices would echo. And then, there was a intervention which, to take care of this kind of problem about echoing of the voices, So what they did was they reduced the ceiling, by 11 feet, And there were two principal of, things. One was reducing this thing, by 11 feet. And then the second one was the wooden panels were tilted and brought a little forward. And on the ceilings, the false ceilings that were created, you had, jalis and carvings, and also American tiles were put up on the ceiling as well as on the walls.
Besides continuous woodwork and panels on the upper lobbies for journalists, diplomats and other guests, there are 35 glided designs on the woodwork of the middle ceiling of the chamber, representing various provinces of undivided India and even the dominions and other British settlements. But it is the bearer of this chair who carries a massive responsibility to make this house function. For the rotation of the wheel, read the inscription overlooking the speaker's chair, signifying the ideal to which rulers of India since ancient times have dedicated themselves. The chair, which was designed by Sir Herbert Baker, is dressed with immaculate woodcraft on its backside panels and the crest. Just below the chair is the table of the Secretary General of the House. In this busy space, there are special boxes reserved for the family members of MPs, guests of the President, governors of the states, heads of the state, and other high dignitaries. But it is these benches whose bearers, in the form of ministers and members, shape the course of the nation. To the right of the chair sits the treasury or the ruling side, and to the left sits the opposition. Great leaders and orators have occupied these benches, inspiring the generations to emulate their feat. Such is the might of this house that many moments witnessed here are etched in the memory forever.
आपको विश्वास दिलाते हैं कि जो कार्य हमने अपने हाथ में लिया है वो जब तक राष्ट्र के उद्देश्य पूरा नहीं कर लेंगे तब तक विश्राम से नहीं बैठेंगे। क्या एक राष्ट्र के नाते हम मिलकर काम नहीं करते?
दुश्मनी जमकर करो पर इतनी गुंजाइश रहे फिर कभी हम दोस्त बन जाएं तो शर्मिंदा ना हो। कमान से निकला तीर और मुंह से निकली बात कभी वापस नहीं आती।
Rajya Sabha is the highest theatre of legislation in our country. Let's trace the journey of its chamber in the old building.
The question is that the bill be returned. Those in favor will please say aye. Those against will please say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The bill is returned. It's a great moment. There is scripted history.
Though smaller in size than Lok Sabha, this majestic chamber represents the states of the Union of India, and with that, her people, their grievances, their hopes and aspirations. It is this house which completes the deliberations and debates for better India, for a better future ahead.
It's the tone of the debate which is sometimes a little different. In the Rajya Sabha, the tone tends to be a little more reflective, and in the Lok Sabha, it tends to be sharper, a little more combative. And I think that's really, and I believe that's really got to do with the composition and how these houses are constituted. One as a directly elected house, and one as an indirectly elected from the state legislature, and that shows it there, and that it's there. And I think that's healthy. I mean, there are various ways in which an entire issue can be looked at, and I think both complement each other in some way or the other.
Often credited with the rich tradition of debate and excellent orators, it is the chairman of the House who presides over the proceedings. Since the adoption of the Constitution, the Vice President of India is the ex officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha. Termed also as the Council of States and the Upper House, the House, with 245 members, has a seating capacity of 250 members. Even before Rajya Sabha came into being, extensive debates were held in Constituent Assembly regarding the need for a second chamber in independent India. And finally, it was decided to have a bicameral legislature for independent India, a vast country with immense diversity.
The element of gravitas in the Rajya Sabha is in sharp contrast to the element of populism which necessarily must be there in the Lok Sabha, because they are accountable to different people. Here you are accountable to, in the Lok Sabha they are accountable to their constituencies, to the electors there. In the Rajya Sabha you are basically accountable to the state governments, to the states, rather state legislatures. They are the people who elected you.
Just outside the chambers of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha run these inner lobbies, an intimate space graced with relaxing furniture and portraits of the great leaders and office bearers of the house. Often these lobbies act as informal avenue for meeting of minds or building a camaraderie, even between those who had indulged in intense debate inside the house. A massive circular edifice measuring 560 feet in diameter and 1/3 mile in its diameter is etched with the fusion of colonial as well as Indian tradition in its architecture. Chhajja or overhanging eaves, chhatri or umbrella pavilions, and jalis, the cross-section of stonework in windows and vents, lend a traditional Indian look.
Now there is a very conscious design which has been picked up. So you could see the pillar and beam techniques being used in the entrances to all those Dwar Mandaps. So pillar and beam techniques that would be used in Indian temples and all that. Then you have these chhajjas or the eaves supported by brackets. This is the second element, and the third element is the lion face water spouts. So these three things very strongly bring out the Indian element in this porches that you have. Also, and these are complemented by the arches and jalis that you have in the main building.
Lok Dwaram Patranu. The Sanskrit verse, which means open the door to thy people and let us see for obtaining of the sovereignty. welcomes the visitors of this magnificent structure at its very entrance. Features like these draw both an admiration and awe of those who work here or have been here. While the colour scheme of red and cream sandstone is in sync with the Rashtrapati Bhavan and north and south blocks at the Raisina Hill, it is this continuous lane of 144 pillars on the upper veranda which makes the space stand out. Situated in the northern wing of the Rashtrapati Bhavan is a vast complex spreading nearly acres. The building's eternal magnificence is added forth by the statues depicting the icons and journey of the nation. Among those, the monolith of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar stands tall and distinguished. He played a stellar role in framing the Constitution of India as the chairman of the drafting committee of the Constituent Assembly. Did you know that the transfer of power took place on the midnight of 14th and 15th August in 1947 in the Central Hall of Parliament? Here's everything about the Central Hall of the old building. Once inside, the corridor leads to the chambers of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha and the Central Hall. The outer wall of this corridor on the ground floor is studded with a series of paintings depicting the history of India from ancient times and even the diversity of our nation. Among the interior spaces, it is this iconic Central Hall, which has history seeped in its veins. It is here that the transfer of power took place on the midnight of 14th and 15th of August 1947.
Long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes when we shall redeem our pledge.
The Constitution was framed here. MP is addressed by the distinguished heads of the state of other countries.
माननीय सभासदों, महामहिम राष्ट्रपति जी,
And the President of India has been addressing the joint sitting of two houses.
माननीय सदस्यगण, संसद के इस समवेत सत्र को संबोधित करते हुए मुझे हार्दिक प्रसन्नता हो रही है।
Perfect circular in shape, the hall is crowned with 98 feet wide dome, easily distinguished as one of the most magnificent domes in the world, preserving, upholding and guarding the essence of democracy. The Central Hall was originally used as a library of the erstwhile Central Legislative Assembly and the Council of States. In 1946, it was converted and refurnished into Constituent Assembly Hall. The Constituent Assembly met here from 9th of December 1946 to 24th of January 1950. One of the passages leading to the Central Hall bears an Arabic inscription saying, "It is people of the nation themselves who can shape and mold their destiny." A fitting description of a hall which has stood witness to several iconic moments in the history of nation. with 12 glided emblems representing the 12 provinces of the undivided India and panels carrying 24 portraits of distinguished national leaders. The latest addition to the galaxy of these portraits is that of former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. The portrait was installed in an elaborate ceremony. Larger-than-life bust and statues of the leaders overlooks the everyday walk inside the alleys of the two chambers, the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. One of the galleries from Central Hall also leads to a third chamber called the Library. The ornate chamber, decorated with the crests of the former princely estates, was temporarily used as a courtroom by the Supreme Court of India after independence, till a separate building was assigned to it. The Parliament House space is also studded with 31 inscriptions from religious to philosophical corpus. They are indicative of the spirit with which parliamentarians should conduct their business. The verses here also serve as guiding principles for deliberations and conduct of business inside the House. December 13th, 2001 went down in history as the day on which the principal edifice of Indian democracy came face to face with terrorism. 5 Delhi police personnel, a woman CRPF trooper and 2 personnel of Parliament House made the supreme sacrifice, defending the 2001 cowardly terrorist attack on the temple of democracy. It is inside this grand structure a wide range of words, actions and activities take place which have shaped and molded this nation in the last 70 years. Conserving and rejuvenating the rich heritage of Parliament Building is a matter of national importance. The old Parliament Building will be conserved as it is an archaeological asset of the country. It will be suitably retrofitted to provide more functional spaces for parliamentary events to ensure that it is used along with the new building. In fact, the building of a new parliament will free the old Parliament Building of the National Archives and for heritage-sensitive restoration and refurbishment for future use. The only constant in life is change. This is the way of the world. The old gives way to the new. In the Amrit Kal, people of India have given themselves a new Parliament building. The new Parliament isn't just a building, it is a symbol of the aspirations of 140 crore people of India. Let's embrace it with open arms and respect the old Parliament building as well. Well viewers, that's all we had for you in this edition. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Sansad TV. Goodbye for now from my side.